Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was born on 2nd October 1869 in the coastal town of Porbandar, then a small princely state within the Kathiawar agency of the British Raj. His early circumstances were shaped less by dramatic events and more by the steady routines and administrative responsibilities of his family. Gandhi's father, Karamchand Uttamchand Gandhi, 1822-1885, served as the Dewan, chief minister of Porbandar. Though his formal education had been minimal, he gradually earned a reputation as a capable administrator. The family traced its origins to Kutiana in Junagadh state, and the position Karamchand held placed the family within the day-to-day workings of small state governance. Karamchand's personal life had been marked by multiple marriages. His first two wives died young after each giving birth to a daughter, and his third marriage remained childless. In 1857, with his third wife's permission, he married Putlibai, 1844-1891, who came from a Pranami Vaishnava family also based in Junagadh. Together they had 4 children, Laxmidas, Raliatben, Karsandas, and their youngest, Mohandas. In 1874, Karamchand left Porbandar to serve in the smaller state of Rajkot as counselor to its ruler, the Thakur Sahib. Though the role was in a less prestigious state, Rajkot's proximity to the British political agency offered administrative stability. By 1876, he had become Rajkot's Diwan, while his brother Tulsidas assumed the position in Porbandar. The family later settled in their Rajkot home, Kaba Gandhi, Nodello, in 1881. Descriptions of Gandhi's early years portray a quiet yet active child. His sister Raliat later recalled him as restless as Mercury, always moving, playing, or wandering, occasionally indulging in childhood mischief, such as twisting dogs' ears. His imagination was deeply shaped by traditional Indian stories, especially those of Shravana and King Harishchandra. He would later write that these tales haunted him, becoming private moral dramas he replayed for himself, reinforcing early ideas about truth and love as guiding principles. The family's religious background blended several influences. Gandhi was born into a Gujarati Hindu Modbaniya family. His father practiced a straightforward form of Hinduism, while his mother followed the Pranami Vaishnava tradition, a path centered on devotion to Krishna and shaped by texts that drew from the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavata Purana, and even teachings believed to echo the Vedas, the Quran, and the Bible. Putlabai's piety was constant. Fasting, strict vows, and daily prayers structured much of her life and set the spiritual tone Gandhi grew up with. At age 9, Gandhi began attending the local school in Rajkot, studying arithmetic, history, Gujarati, and geography. His schooling advanced at age 11 when he enrolled in Alfred High School, also in Rajkot. His academic performance was unremarkable but steady. He won a few prizes, maintained an overall average record, and rarely participated in games or socializing. Shy and reserved, he found companionship mainly in books and lessons, rather than in the activities of his peers. This phase of Gandhi's life passed without major disruption, marked instead by modest surroundings, quiet routines, and a household steeped in discipline, devotion, and administrative work. These were the understated origins from which his later life would eventually emerge. In May 1883, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, then 13 years old, entered into an arranged marriage with Kasturbai Gokuldas Kapadia, who was 14 at the time. The arrangement followed the customary practices of their region. Gandhi later recalled that the day held little significance for him beyond wearing new clothes, eating sweets, and playing with relatives. The wedding was a joint ceremony in which his brother and cousin were also married. Because of the marriage preparations, Gandhi lost a year of schooling, but was later permitted to make up the academic time by accelerating his studies. According to the customs of the period, Kasturbai spent much of her early married life at her parents' home, rather than with her young husband. Reflecting on these years long afterward, Gandhi wrote with unease about the strong attachment and desire he felt toward his wife. He admitted that even during school hours, his thoughts often wandered to her, and he described possessing feelings of jealousy when she visited temples with her friends. These recollections would become part of the self-criticism Gandhi expressed throughout his later writings. In late 1885, Gandhi's father, Karamchand, died. Gandhi later expressed regret that he had left his father's bedside briefly to be with his wife, and therefore missed his father's final moments. He attributed this absence to what he later termed animal passion, a phrase he used frequently in his reflections on his early married life. Soon after, Gandhi and Kasturbai, then 16 and 17 respectively, had their first child. The infant survived only a few days, and this loss, combined with the recent death of his father, caused Gandhi significant distress. In the years that followed, the couple had 4 surviving sons: Harilal, Manilal, Ramdas, and Devdas. Gandhi completed his high school education in November 1887 at Ahmedabad at the age of 18. In January 1888, he enrolled at Samaldas College in Bhavnagar State, which was then the only degree-granting institution in the region. His time there was brief. Gandhi found the environment unfulfilling and soon returned to Porbandar. Outside formal schooling, Gandhi's intellectual formation was shaped by reading Gujarati literature, particularly the works of prominent reformers such as Narmad and Govardhanram Tripathi. Their writings highlighted the social weaknesses they perceived in Gujarati society, including excessive adherence to religious dogma. These ideas exposed Gandhi to early discussions of reform and self-improvement, themes that would quietly influence him as he moved into adulthood. After leaving Samaldas College, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi attempted further studies in Bombay, but found even the most affordable college beyond his academic or personal comfort. Around this time, Mavji Dev Joshiji, a Brahmin priest and family acquaintance, advised the family that Gandhi should consider studying law in London. This suggestion aligned with Gandhi's desire for advancement. In July 1888, Gandhi's wife, Kasturba, gave birth to their first surviving child, Harilal. Gandhi's mother, Putlibai, was uneasy about her son leaving his young family and traveling so far. His uncle, Tulsidas, also expressed doubts. Gandhi, however, remained determined. To reassure his mother, he made a formal vow, promising to abstain from meat, alcohol, and women. His older brother, Laxmidas, already a lawyer, supported the plan and encouraged him to go. With his family's eventual consent, Gandhi prepared to leave. On 10th of August 1888, at age 18, Gandhi left Porbandar for Bombay. A local newspaper in Rajkot reported that he was the first Bania from Kathiawar to travel to England to study for the barrister's examination. While waiting for a ship to London, Gandhi encountered opposition from members of the Maud Bania community in Bombay. Their elders warned him that English life would endanger his religious commitments. Even after he explained his vow, they formally excommunicated him from his caste. Gandhi chose to disregard the decision, and on 4 September 1888, he departed for London, his brother accompanying him to the port. Gandhi enrolled at University College London, where he attended classes in English literature under Henry Morley in 1888-1889. He also joined the Inns of Court School of Law at Inner Temple to pursue training as a barrister. His characteristic shyness, present since childhood, persisted during his early months in London. To address it, he joined a public speaking group, which helped him gradually become more comfortable speaking before others, an important skill for legal practice. During his time in London, Gandhi showed a steady interest in the living conditions of the city's poorer populations, particularly those in the dockland areas. In 1889, when a major trade dispute led to a large-scale dock workers' strike, Gandhi observed the movement closely. The dispute, which involved dockers, seamen, shipbuilders, and factory girls, eventually succeeded, partly due to the mediation of Cardinal Manning. Impressed by the Cardinal's role, Gandhi and an Indian acquaintance visited him to express their appreciation. During his years in London, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi attempted to balance his vow to his mother with his desire to understand English customs. He briefly took dancing lessons and explored various aspects of Western life, but he struggled with the food provided by his landlady. The bland vegetarian meals left him frequently hungry until he discovered one of the few vegetarian restaurants in the city. Gandhi soon became involved with the London Vegetarian Society, LVS, influenced by the writings of Henry Salt. He joined the society, eventually serving on its executive committee under its president, Arnold Hills. One of Gandhi's contributions during his tenure was assisting in the formation of a Bayswater branch of the society. Many of the vegetarians he met belonged to the Theosophical Society, whose members were interested in Buddhist and Hindu texts. At their encouragement, Gandhi participated in readings of the Bhagavad Gita in both translation and the original language. Gandhi's relationship with Hills was cordial, but they held differing views on the membership of fellow committee member Thomas Allinson. Allinson supported the use of newly emerging birth control methods. Hills, seeing vegetarianism as a moral movement, felt that such views were incompatible with the society. Although Gandhi personally shared concerns about birth control, he defended Allinson's right to remain a member. This incident marked one of the earliest recorded instances of Gandhi quietly challenging authority. Gandhi's shyness, however, limited his ability to speak directly. When the committee debated a motion to remove Allinson, Gandhi wrote down his arguments but asked another member to read them aloud. Despite gaining some support, the motion succeeded, and Allinson was removed. The disagreement did not damage Gandhi's relationship with Hills, who later offered a warm farewell when Gandhi prepared to leave England. Gandhi was called to the bar in June 1891 at the age of 22. Shortly afterward, he departed London for India. Upon his return, he learned that his mother, Putlibai, had died during his time abroad. His family had chosen not to inform him while he was still studying. Gandhi attempted to establish a legal career in Bombay, but he found the practical aspects of courtroom advocacy difficult, particularly cross-examining witnesses. He then moved back to Rajkot and earned a modest income drafting petitions for local residents. This work ended abruptly after a disagreement with a British officer, Sam Sunny, which restricted his ability to continue. In 1893, Gandhi received an offer from Dada Abdullah, a Muslim merchant from Kathiawar, who operated a large shipping business in South Africa. Abdullah's distant cousin in Johannesburg required legal assistance and preferred someone from Kathiawar. Gandhi inquired about the position and was offered a contract worth $105, including travel costs. Recognizing that it would require at least a year in the colony of Natal, then part of the British Empire, Gandhi accepted. This decision marked the beginning of a new phase in his life, one that would shape much of his later work and philosophy. In April 1893, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, then 23, sailed for South Africa to assist with a legal matter involving Abdullah's cousin. Gandhi would ultimately spend 21 years in South Africa, during which his social, political, and ethical ideas gradually took shape. He returned briefly to India in 1902 to gather support for the welfare of Indians residing in the region. Upon arrival, Gandhi immediately encountered racial discrimination. He was instructed to sit near the driver on a stagecoach rather than with European passengers and was beaten when he refused. In another instance, he was pushed into a gutter for approaching a house. One of the most notable incidents occurred at Pietermaritzburg, where he was removed from a first-class train compartment despite holding a valid ticket. Gandhi spent the night shivering in the station, reflecting on whether he should return to India or remain and assert his rights. The next morning, he chose to continue his journey. Additional episodes followed. A magistrate in Durban ordered Gandhi to remove his turban in court, which he refused to do. Public footpaths were restricted for Europeans, and Gandhi was kicked off one by a police officer without explanation. These experiences forced Gandhi to reconsider the nature of his identity within the British Empire. According to Arthur Herman, Gandhi at that time still regarded himself a Briton first and an Indian second, but the open prejudice he witnessed caused him to question this perception. The legal case that brought Gandhi to South Africa concluded in May 1894, and the Indian community organized a farewell event for him. The occasion evolved into a planning meeting about resisting a new natal government proposal designed to disenfranchise Indians. Gandhi agreed to stay longer to assist in organizing the community's response. He contacted Joseph Chamberlain, the British colonial secretary, requesting reconsideration of the discriminatory bill. Although the legislation passed, Gandhi's efforts succeeded in bringing public attention to the issues faced by Indians. In 1894, Gandhi helped establish the Natal Indian Congress, through which he encouraged the Indian population in South Africa to act as a unified political body. His public involvement continued despite risks. In January 1897, when Gandhi arrived in Durban, he was attacked by a mob of white settlers. He avoided serious harm only due to the intervention of the police superintendent's wife. Gandhi refused to press charges, an early indication of the principles he would later formalize. During the Boer War in 1900, Gandhi organized the Natal Indian Ambulance Corps, a group of Indian stretcher bearers who volunteered to serve British forces. Gandhi sought to counter stereotypes held by colonial authorities that Indians, particularly Hindus, were unfit for strenuous or dangerous tasks. He raised 100 volunteers who received medical training and served near the front lines. At the Battle of Colenso, the group supported a white volunteer ambulance unit. At Spion Kop, Gandhi and his team carried wounded soldiers long distances over rough terrain to reach medical facilities where wheeled ambulances could not operate. Gandhi and 37 other Indian volunteers later received the Queen's South Africa Medal for their service. In 1906, the Transvaal government introduced legislation requiring all Indian and Chinese residents to submit fingerprints and carry registration documents that could be demanded at any time. Historians have since described Gandhi's opposition as a stand not only against discrimination, but also against emerging biometric identification systems that treated entire populations as potential offenders. Gandhi initially agreed to voluntary registration, but later recognized that surrendering fingerprints removed the ability to withdraw consent. This realization shaped his understanding of satyagraha, described as devotion to truth and centered on dignity, autonomy, and non-violent resistance. On 11th September 1906, at a public meeting in Johannesburg, Gandhi began using satyagraha as a formal method of protest. His thinking was influenced by various sources, including the Tamil text Tirukkural, which Leo Tolstoy had mentioned in their correspondence. Gandhi encouraged Indians to resist the new law peacefully and to accept punishment without retaliation. Through these actions, he developed his skills in persuasion, organization, and public communication, principles he would bring back to India in 1915. During his years in South Africa, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi gradually shifted his attention toward the conditions facing both Indians and Africans. Initially, Gandhi showed little interest in political matters. However, repeated experiences of discrimination, such as being ejected from a train because of his skin color, altered his perspective. These incidents, combined with the treatment he observed toward others, convinced him that he needed to resist these practices and work toward securing basic rights for his community. It was in this context that he entered public life by helping to establish the Natal Indian Congress. According to scholars Ashwin Desai and Ghulam Vahed, Gandhi's views on race during this period were complicated and, in certain instances, reflected the racial attitudes of his time. Gandhi faced persecution from the moment he arrived. Newspapers and passers-by subjected him to insults, calling him terms such as parasite, semi-barbarous, coolie, and yellow man. Some individuals spat on him. These experiences reinforced his awareness of the racial hierarchy that dominated South African society. While Gandhi primarily focused on the discrimination faced by Indians, his early writings sometimes drew distinctions between Indians and Africans. In an 1896 speech, he remarked that Indians were being degraded to the level of a raw kafir, a phrase often cited by scholars to illustrate the racial assumptions he held at the time. In 1895, while preparing a brief for the Natal Assembly, he referenced European theories about the Aryan origins of Indians and Anglo-Saxons, arguing that Indians should not be classified alongside Africans. These positions, though reflective of his early thinking, were part of a broader evolution. In later years, Gandhi's work expanded to include cooperation with African communities. He and other Indians served as nurses, opposed discriminatory policies, and supported African rights efforts. Figures such as Nelson Mandela later acknowledged Gandhi's influence in resisting racism in the region. Scholars note that the simplified posthumous image of Gandhi as always saintly overlooks the complexities of his earlier positions and the gradual changes he underwent. In 1903, Gandhi founded the Indian Opinion, a journal dedicated to reporting on the lives and issues of Indians in South Africa as well as in India. The publication included material in English, Gujarati, Hindi, and Tamil. It carried articles on a wide range of subjects, social, moral, and intellectual, and relied significantly on Gandhi's own contributions. The journal served as an advocacy platform for the Indian community. In 1906, during the Bambatha Rebellion in Natal, Gandhi, then 36, encouraged Indian South Africans to volunteer as stretcher bearers, despite expressing sympathy for the Zulu rebels. In the Indian Opinion, he argued that military service would benefit the Indian community and contribute to their health and discipline. Gandhi later led a mixed group of Indian and African volunteers who assisted the wounded during the colonial suppression of the uprising. The medical unit operated for fewer than 2 months before being disbanded. Despite their participation, the colonial government showed no inclination to extend to Indians the civil rights enjoyed by white South Africans. By 1910, the Indian Opinion had begun reporting on discrimination faced by Africans under colonial rule. Gandhi remarked that Africans were the original inhabitants of the land and that white settlers had taken possession of it by force. That same year, Gandhi and his friend Herman Kallenbach established Tolstoy Farm, an experimental community near Johannesburg, where Gandhi further developed his ideals of nonviolent resistance. In the decades following the end of apartheid and the enfranchisement of black South Africans in 1994, Gandhi was formally recognized in South Africa as a national figure of significance, with numerous monuments dedicated to his memory. In 1915, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi returned to India at the request of Gopal Krishna Gokhale, a senior leader of the Indian National Congress. The request was conveyed by C.F. Andrews. By this time, Gandhi had already gained an international reputation as a community organizer and as a spokesman for the rights of Indians abroad. Upon his return, Gandhi joined the Indian National Congress. Gokhale played a central role in familiarizing him with the political issues facing India as well as the practical workings of Indian public life. Gokhale was widely respected for his moderate political style and his commitment to pursuing reform through constitutional means. Gandhi drew from Gokhale's approach, which was influenced by British liberal traditions, but gradually adapted these ideas into methods and arguments he considered more suited to Indian conditions. Gandhi assumed leadership of the Congress in 1920. Under his guidance, the organization adopted more assertive positions. Over time, demands for reforms expanded, culminating in the 26 January 1930 declaration by the Indian National Congress that India was independent. Although the British government did not recognize this declaration, it led to negotiations in which the Congress participated, including involvement in provincial governments during the late 1930s. The situation changed in September 1939, when the Viceroy announced India's entry into the Second World War without consulting Indian leaders. Gandhi and the Congress withdrew their cooperation as a response to this unilateral decision. Tensions increased over the following years. In 1942, Gandhi called for immediate independence, prompting the British authorities to arrest him along with many Congress leaders. While Gandhi and the Congress pursued independence for a unified India, the Muslim League chose to support Britain during the war and advanced its demand for a separate state for Muslims. Gandhi opposed this demand but was unable to prevent its development. In August 1947, British rule ended. The subcontinent was partitioned into two independent states, India and Pakistan, under terms with which Gandhi disagreed. The event marked both the achievement of independence and the beginning of new political challenges for the region. In April 1918, during the final phase of World War I, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was invited by the Viceroy to attend a war conference in Delhi. Gandhi agreed to support the British war effort. Unlike during the Zulu War of 1906 and the early years of World War I, when he had recruited volunteers for ambulance services, this time Gandhi attempted to encourage enlistment in combat roles. In a leaflet titled "Appeal for Enlistment," published in June 1918, he argued that Indians should learn to bear arms in order to fully understand the meaning of self-defense. At the same time, Gandhi informed the Viceroy's private secretary that he would not personally participate in violence or cause injury. His involvement in military recruitment raised questions about the consistency of his commitment to ahimsa, nonviolence. Observers, including his private secretary, noted that this tension between nonviolence and recruitment has remained a subject of discussion. According to political theorist Christian Bartolf, Gandhi believed that nonviolence required courage rather than avoidance, and that Indians needed the capacity for self-defense before they could make a voluntary choice for nonviolence. Gandhi later stated that he was unable to persuade even a single individual to enlist for the war, noting that many hesitated because of fear of death. Gandhi's first major public success occurred in Champaran, Bihar, in 1917. Local peasants approached him regarding difficulties caused by the indigo plantation system, under which they were required to grow indigo for European planters and sell it at fixed prices even though demand for the dye had been declining. Gandhi visited the region, studied the situation, and adopted a method of nonviolent protest. His actions gained the attention of the administration, and he eventually secured relief and concessions for the peasants. In 1918, the Kedah district experienced crop failure due to floods and famine, prompting local peasants to seek tax relief. Gandhi relocated his base to Nadiad and organized volunteers, including Vallabhbhai Patel, who played a leading role in the negotiations. Gandhi and his colleagues initiated a non-cooperation campaign in which farmers pledged not to pay taxes even under threat of land confiscation. They also organized social boycotts of revenue officials. After several months, the government agreed to suspend tax collection and release those who had been arrested. After World War I, Gandhi sought broader political cooperation and began supporting Muslim concerns regarding the future of the Ottoman Caliphate. At that time, Hindu-Muslim tensions were frequent, and Gandhi believed that cooperation between the two communities was necessary for a unified political movement against British rule. Gandhi had already supported the British war effort, partly because of expectations that Britain would grant Swaraj, self-government, after the war. However, post-war reforms were limited, prompting Gandhi to announce a civil disobedience campaign. The British government responded by passing the Rowlatt Act, which permitted preventive detention without trial. Gandhi viewed this as a significant setback and intensified his call for nationwide protest. Gandhi aligned with the leaders of the Khilafat movement, including the Ali brothers and various Muslim rulers, who supported the Caliph as a symbol of Islamic unity. His involvement brought strong Muslim support to the national movement, though some Hindu leaders, including Rabindranath Tagore, expressed reservations about linking Indian nationalism to the fate of the Turkish Caliph. The cooperation between Hindus and Muslims temporarily improved communal relations and increased Gandhi's standing as a political figure. The joint demonstrations during the Rowlatt Satyagraha offered rare examples of intercommunal solidarity. Gandhi's support for the Khilafat cause also placed him in contrast to Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who preferred constitutional negotiation over mass mobilization and rejected Gandhi's non-cooperation strategy. In 1922, the Khilafat movement declined following the end of Gandhi's non-cooperation movement and his arrest. Many Muslim leaders withdrew their support and communal tensions re-emerged. Violent riots occurred in multiple regions, including 91 recorded incidents in the United Provinces alone. The temporary unity achieved earlier in the decade gave way to renewed divisions. In 1909, at the age of 40, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi published Hind Swaraj, a book in which he argued that British rule in India existed primarily because Indians cooperated with it. Gandhi stated that if Indians collectively withdrew this cooperation, British authority would weaken and independence, or Swaraj, would naturally follow. In February 1919, Gandhi warned the Viceroy that, should the British enact the Rowlatt Act, he would call on Indians to begin civil disobedience. The government proceeded with the legislation, and Gandhi initiated a nationwide satyagraha. On 30 March 1919, British officers fired on a peaceful gathering in Delhi, which led to widespread unrest. Gandhi attempted to restrain public anger and advised people to adopt peaceful methods such as boycotting British goods and burning foreign cloth. He emphasized nonviolence, even if confronted with violence. Despite a government order prohibiting him from entering Delhi, Gandhi defied the restriction and was arrested on 9 April. On 13 April 1919, at Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar, British Indian Army officer Reginald Dyer ordered his troops to fire on a large crowd of unarmed civilians. The massacre, which resulted in hundreds of deaths, caused widespread shock and anger. Gandhi, who was in Ahmedabad at the time, responded by criticizing the violence of Indian rioters rather than the British officer directly. He asked Indians to end all violent actions and undertook a fast to reinforce his appeal for restraint. Although committees of inquiry were established by the British, Gandhi requested that Indians boycott these proceedings. The events surrounding the massacre convinced him that Indians would not receive equal treatment under British rule, prompting him to shift his focus toward complete independence. By 1921, Gandhi had become the leader of the Indian National Congress, reorganizing the institution and expanding its reach. Gandhi broadened his non-cooperation campaign to include the Swadeshi principle, which encouraged Indians to boycott foreign-made goods, particularly British textiles. He urged all Indians to wear khadi, or homespun cloth, and promoted spinning as a daily activity for both men and women as a symbolic step toward self-reliance. In addition to economic boycotts, Gandhi called for the rejection of British institutions, including law courts and government employment. He encouraged Indians to renounce British titles and honors. These activities were intended to challenge the British administration economically and politically by disrupting its operations and reducing its local support. The movement quickly gained traction across different sections of Indian society. On 10th of March 1922, Gandhi was arrested and charged with sedition. He was sentenced to 6 years in prison and began serving his sentence on 18th of March. During his imprisonment, internal divisions arose within the Congress. One faction, led by Chitta Ranjan Das and Motilal Nehru, supported participation in legislative councils, while another faction, led by Chakravarti Rajagopalachari and Vallabhbhai Patel, opposed such involvement. At the same time, cooperation between Hindus and Muslims weakened. The Caliphate movement, which Gandhi had supported, came to an end following political changes in Turkey under Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. Many Muslim leaders left the Congress and formed separate political groups. Gandhi's release in February 1924, due to an appendicitis operation, came after serving 2 years of his sentence. After his early release from prison in 1924, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi continued to work toward achieving Swaraj. Throughout the latter half of the 1920s, he focused on gradually building political pressure. At the Calcutta Congress in December 1928, he helped pass a resolution calling on the British government to grant India dominion status within 1 year. If the demand was not met, he proposed launching a new non-cooperation movement aimed at complete independence. Following his earlier support for World War I, and after the collapse of the Khilafat movement, Gandhi's leadership was questioned by figures such as Subhas Chandra Bose and Bhagat Singh, who disagreed with his non-violent strategy. Many Hindu leaders asked for immediate independence, while Gandhi argued for maintaining the 1-year timeline instead of shortening it further. The British government did not respond to the dominion status proposal. British political leaders, including Lord Birkenhead and Winston Churchill, publicly opposed any concessions to Indian nationalists, referring dismissively to those who supported Gandhi. On 31st December 1929, the Indian flag was unfurled in Lahore. Gandhi then led the Congress in observing 26 January 1930 as India's Independence Day. Multiple Indian organizations participated in commemorations across the country. Shortly afterward, Gandhi announced a new civil disobedience movement targeting the British monopoly on salt. On the 2nd March 1930, he wrote directly to Lord Irwin, the Viceroy, describing British rule as a curse that had impoverished Indians through exploitation and excessive administrative costs. He noted that the Viceroy's salary exceeded the average Indian income by more than 5,000 times and affirmed his commitment to nonviolence. In March, Gandhi began the Salt March, traveling 388 kilometers, 241 miles, from Ahmedabad to Dandi, with 78 volunteers. The march lasted 25 days, during which Gandhi addressed large crowds. Thousands joined him by the time he reached the coast to make salt and symbolically break the law. Women played a visible role in the salt satyagraha. According to some accounts, Gandhi encouraged women to join the boycott of foreign goods and to take part in salt protests, contributing to their growing public presence. Other scholars note that Gandhi expressed caution about women joining civil disobedience, fearing accusations that he was using them as protective shields. He advised women to participate only with family permission and if childcare arrangements were in place. Despite these reservations, large numbers of Indian women joined the protests, marching, picketing shops, and defying the salt laws. Gandhi was arrested on 5 May 1930 under a regulation dating back to 1827. Nevertheless, plans for the next phase of protest continued. On 21st May, several thousand volunteers marched toward the Dharasana salt works. The events were documented by American journalist Webb Miller, who observed police forces striking unresisting demonstrators with steel-tipped lathes. Hundreds were injured, some severely, and several were killed. The protesters did not retaliate. Following Gandhi's arrest, many women continued the demonstrations independently, facing verbal and physical abuse without responding with violence. The Salt Satyagraha significantly disrupted British authority. By the end of the campaign, the British government had imprisoned tens of thousands of Indians, over 60,000 according to official British reports, and as many as 90,000 according to Congress estimates. Among those imprisoned was Jawaharlal Nehru, who played an important role in Congress leadership. The Salt March and its aftermath became one of Gandhi's most effective challenges to British rule, demonstrating both the organizational capacity of the independence movement and the limitations of the colonial government's response. During the 1920s, the Indian National Congress and local leaders in the Telugu-speaking regions of Andhra Pradesh developed plays in the Telugu language that connected Gandhi's political ideas with Indian mythology and historical legends. These performances portrayed Gandhi as a messianic or saint-like figure, which, according to historian Murali, helped build substantial support among rural peasants who were deeply rooted in traditional Hindu culture. As a result, Gandhi became a familiar and revered figure in many villages. According to political theorist Dennis Dalton, Gandhi's widespread appeal was primarily derived from his ideas. He contrasted Western civilization, which he described as driven by force and materialism, with what he considered the moral and spiritual foundations of Indian culture. Gandhi's call to meet hate with love, seen earlier in his South African writings, resonated strongly with many Indians who recognized their own values reflected in his approach. Gandhi traveled extensively across rural India, using cultural references such as Ramarajya and characters from the Ramayana and other traditions to explain his concepts of Swaraj and Satyagraha. While unfamiliar outside India, these references aligned closely with the beliefs of his audiences and strengthened their connection to his message. By 1931, the British government, represented by Viceroy Lord Irwin, agreed to negotiate with Gandhi. The resulting Gandhi-Irwin Pact, signed in March 1931, granted the release of political prisoners in exchange for the temporary suspension of civil disobedience. Under the agreement, Gandhi traveled to London as the sole representative of the Indian National Congress to attend the Round Table Conference. The conference, however, did not meet Gandhi's expectations. While he hoped to discuss steps toward Indian independence, the British delegation focused on the interests of the princely states and minority groups. When Lord Willingdon succeeded Irwin as viceroy, he adopted a stricter policy and resumed efforts to suppress the nationalist movement. Gandhi was arrested again, and the government attempted, but failed, to limit his influence by isolating him from his supporters. During this period, Winston Churchill, then a prominent conservative politician, became one of Gandhi's harshest critics. Churchill frequently attacked Gandhi in public speeches, portraying him as a disruptive influence and questioning both his methods and intentions. Although Churchill's comments found support among some European and American observers, they also contributed to increased sympathy for Gandhi abroad. During the negotiations of 1931-32, Gandhi, then in his early 60s, sought constitutional reforms that would eventually lead to self-rule. British officials proposed a Dominion-style constitution that included separate electorates based on religion and social categories. Gandhi strongly resisted such provisions, arguing that they would deepen divisions and hinder national unity. The British government questioned both Congress's authority to speak for all Indians and Gandhi's claim to represent diverse communities. Various groups, including Muslims, Sikhs, and representatives of other communities, were invited to present their demands. B.R. Ambedkar, representing the depressed classes, later known as Dalits or scheduled castes, advocated separate electorates to protect their political rights. Gandhi opposed this proposal because he believed it would institutionalize caste divisions rather than reduce them. The Second Round Table Conference was the only time Gandhi left India between 1914 and his death in 1948. He chose to stay in modest accommodation at Kingsley Hall in London's East End, rather than in the government-provided hotels. Gandhi maintained close contact with local residents, especially children, during his stay, and renewed his associations with the British vegetarian community. After Gandhi returned to India, he resumed civil disobedience, leading to his arrest and imprisonment in Yerwada jail in Pune. During this time, the British government announced the Communal Award, which granted separate electorates to the depressed classes. Gandhi opposed this system and began a fast unto death while in prison. The fast generated widespread public reactions, including significant pressure on the government and political leaders. After discussions between Gandhi and Ambedkar, the separate electorate provision was replaced by the Pune Pact, which introduced reserved seats for the depressed classes within the general electorate instead of segregated voting rolls. In 1934, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi resigned from membership in the Indian National Congress. His decision was not a disagreement with the party's direction, but stemmed from a belief that his prominence tended to overshadow the party's diverse membership. Congress included individuals from a wide range of political and ideological backgrounds: socialists, trade unionists, students, religious conservatives, business-minded leaders, and others. And Gandhi felt they would have greater freedom to shape the organization without his presence. His withdrawal also reduced opportunities for British authorities to portray Congress as being solely controlled by him. Gandhi returned to active politics in 1936 during Jawaharlal Nehru's presidency and the Lucknow session of Congress. Although Gandhi preferred to focus on independence rather than detailed debates about India's future structure, he did not oppose the Congress adoption of socialism as a long-term aim. During this period, Gandhi disagreed with Subhas Chandra Bose, who questioned nonviolence as an effective strategy. Bose was re-elected Congress president in 1939, despite Gandhi's preference for another candidate, Pattabhi Sitaramaya. Gandhi described Sitaramaya's defeat as his own. Bose later resigned when senior leaders objected to his approach. When World War II began, Gandhi opposed Indian participation in support of the British war effort. He argued that India could not assist in a war fought in the name of freedom while being denied that same freedom. His stance led to widespread arrests, including those of Gandhi and many Congress leaders. Violent incidents occurred as part of nationalist resistance, while more than 2 million Indians still volunteered for the British armed forces. Gandhi condemned fascism and Nazism, but as the war progressed, he intensified calls for independence. In August 1942, at a session in Bombay, he delivered the Quit India speech, urging the British to leave the subcontinent and asking Indians to do or die. The government acted promptly, arresting Gandhi and the Congress Working Committee within hours. In response, many Indians damaged government property, including railway stations and telegraph lines. Gandhi, then nearly 73, instructed his followers not to harm British people, but to remain prepared to suffer without retaliation. He maintained that individual instances of violence would not invalidate the broader movement, which he believed reflected the disorder inherent in colonial administration. Gandhi spent almost 2 years in detention at the Aga Khan Palace in Pune. During this time, his secretary, Mahadev Desai, died. His wife, Kasturba Gandhi, passed away after prolonged illness, and Gandhi himself experienced a severe malaria attack. While in prison, he granted an interview that was later reported in a manner he felt distorted his views, causing confusion among his supporters. Gandhi was ultimately released in May 1944 because of concerns over his health. Upon release, Gandhi entered a changed political environment. The Muslim League, previously a smaller political force, now held significant influence under Muhammad Ali Jinnah, whose campaign for Pakistan had gained momentum. Gandhi and Jinnah engaged in discussions in late 1944, with Gandhi arguing for a united, pluralistic India, while Jinnah insisted on a separate state for Muslims. Their discussions continued into the final years before independence, but did not resolve the central disagreement. Congress leadership remained incarcerated for much of the war, while other organizations expanded their influence. After the war, the British signaled their intention to transfer power. Gandhi then suspended the movement, and political prisoners, including Congress leaders, were released. Gandhi opposed dividing India along religious lines. Congress called for the British to quit India, while the Muslim League demanded divide and quit India. Gandhi proposed that Congress and the Muslim League cooperate within a provisional government and settle the question of partition through a plebiscite in Muslim-majority areas. Jinnah rejected this approach. On 16 August 1946, the Muslim League launched Direct Action Day, leading to widespread communal violence in Calcutta. The absence of police intervention contributed to mass casualties and extensive destruction. Retaliatory violence spread across India, affecting both Hindus and Muslims. Gandhi traveled to the affected regions in an effort to calm tensions. British Viceroy Archibald Wavell attempted to negotiate with Gandhi and Jinnah, but later expressed doubts about Gandhi's intentions and his ability to prevent civil war. Despite these concerns, the British agreed to grant independence and accepted the partition plan proposed by Jinnah. Gandhi did not approve of the plan, but he participated in the final discussions. Partition resulted in significant violence and mass migrations. More than 500,000 people were killed, and between 10 and 12 million crossed the new borders drawn between India, West Pakistan, and East Pakistan. On 15 August 1947, India achieved independence. While celebrations occurred across the country, Gandhi spent the day in Calcutta fasting and praying for peace as communal violence continued. His efforts were widely credited with reducing tensions during this period. His final fast, from 13 to 18th January 1948, focused again on stopping communal violence in Delhi, taking place only days before his assassination later that month. On 30th January 1948, at approximately 5:17 p.m., Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was walking through the garden of Birla House in New Delhi on his way to a scheduled prayer meeting. As he proceeded with his grandnieces, he was approached by Nathuram Vinayak Godse, a Hindu nationalist, who fired 3 shots into Gandhi's chest at close range. Some reports state that Gandhi died instantly. Other accounts indicate that he was taken into a nearby room inside Birla House, where he died about 30 minutes later, while verses from Hindu scripture were read to him. Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru announced Gandhi's death to the nation over All India Radio. In his broadcast, Nehru described the loss as a moment of profound darkness and referred to Gandhi as the father of the nation, noting the immense grief felt by millions of people. Godse made no attempt to escape the scene. He and several other individuals connected to the conspiracy were quickly arrested. The group included Narayan Apte, Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, Shankar Kistaya, Dattatreya Parchur, Vishnu Karkare, Madanlal Pahwa, and Gopal Godse. The trial opened on 27 May 1948 and concluded on 10 February 1949. The prosecution presented 149 witnesses. The defense did not call any. The court convicted all the accused except one. Savarkar was acquitted due to lack of evidence. Nathuram Godse and Narayan Apte were sentenced to death by hanging, while the remaining individuals, including Godse's brother, received life imprisonment. Gandhi's death was followed by national mourning on an unprecedented scale. More than 1 million people joined the 5-mile funeral procession from Birla House to Raj Ghat, where Gandhi's cremation took place on 31st January 1948. Another million lined the route. His body was carried on a modified military weapons carrier pulled by volunteers using heavy ropes. Across India and abroad, tributes were paid. In London, Indian-owned establishments closed for the day, and large numbers of people of different backgrounds gathered at India House to mark the event. Gandhi was cremated according to Hindu custom. His son, Devdas Gandhi, lit the funeral pyre. Gandhi's ashes were placed in multiple urns and distributed across India for memorial services. Most were later immersed at the Sangam in Allahabad on 12th of February 1948. Over the years, additional urns were located and similarly immersed, including one in 1997 and another in 2008. Some ashes were also dispersed internationally, including at the source of the Nile River in Uganda. Other urns remain at locations connected to Gandhi's life, such as the Aga Khan Palace in Pune and the Self-Realization Fellowship Lake Shrine in Los Angeles. The site of Gandhi's death at Birla House has been preserved as Gandhi Smriti, a dedicated memorial. The place of his cremation, Raj Ghat in New Delhi, is marked by a black marble platform bearing the inscription, He Ram, traditionally believed to be Gandhi's last words. These sites continue to serve as locations of national remembrance. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi is widely regarded as the central figure of India's successful struggle for independence and one of the most important leaders of modern India. Historians such as Stanley Wolpert have described him as India's greatest nationalist leader since the Buddha. He came to be popularly known as Mahatma, Great Soul, and is often called the Father of the Nation and Bapu, Father, in India, though Gandhi himself was uncomfortable with such titles. Over time, Gandhi's name and image have become deeply embedded in public life. Countless streets and districts in India bear his name. including major thoroughfares like MG Road and the planned city of Gandhinagar in Gujarat. His portrait appears on almost all Indian banknotes. His birthday on 2nd October is a national holiday, Gandhi Jayanti, and his death on 30 January is observed as Martyrs' Day. More than 150 countries have issued stamps in his honor, and statues and memorials dedicated to him stand in cities across the world, from Brisbane and Madrid to São Paulo, Astana, New York, and beyond. Sites linked with his life and death, such as Gandhi Smriti in New Delhi, Rajghat, and various museums and memorials, remain active places of remembrance. International recognition has continued into the 21st century. Gandhi has been called Asian of the Century, appeared near the top of global Person of the Century and political icons lists, and inspired commemorative actions such as the UN's designation of 3rd October as the International Day of Nonviolence. Although he never received the Nobel Peace Prize, the Nobel Committee later expressed regret at this omission, and some later awards, such as the Dalai Lama's 1989 Peace Prize, were explicitly framed as partial tributes to Gandhi's legacy. He has also been honored with national and international peace prizes, and even with the naming of an asteroid. Gandhi's influence extended far beyond India's borders. His philosophy of nonviolent resistance shaped the strategies of civil rights and anti-colonial leaders around the world, including Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela, James Lawson, Václav Havel, Aung San Suu Kyi, and others. Writers, thinkers, and public figures such as Romain Rolland, Albert Einstein, Gene Sharp, and later political and environmental leaders have used Gandhi's life and ideas as a touchstone in debates on ethics, politics, nonviolence, and technology. Gandhi's image and story have also entered popular culture through films, plays, operas, novels, and songs, ranging from the film Gandhi to Philip Glass's opera Satyagraha, and numerous Indian cinematic and theatrical treatments of his life and family. Within India, Gandhi's economic vision of a village-based austere society has largely been set aside in favor of rapid industrial and economic development. Yet his political legacy, emphasizing democracy, pluralism, and nonviolent change, remains central to India's self-understanding. Temples and memorial structures in various states honor him, and his name continues to be invoked in public debates about justice, peace, and national identity. Gandhi's descendants, some of whom have written about him or worked as scholars, live in India and abroad, contributing in different ways to the continuing discussion of his life and work. As the night settles, it is easy to remember that even Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi ended his days in quiet simplicity, often closing his evenings with prayer, spinning, or reflection on the events around him. His life, marked by long journeys, public struggles, and persistent discipline, also contained many ordinary nights where he paused, accepted the limits of the day, and allowed rest to come. In the same manner, this is a time to release the concerns that have filled the hours, just as Gandhi routinely set aside his work when evening arrived. Let the stillness gather patiently, the way he welcomed silence in his ashram after long stretches of activity. Allow your thoughts to slow, steady themselves, and then dissolve into calm. In this gentle rhythm of ending, so familiar in Gandhi's own life, may you find a peaceful night and a quiet rest. Good night.